Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our coffee times. Today I am ready with my House on Haunted Hill t-shirt because we're here to talk about one big trope of horror movies.
It's coffee time!
So you know guys, I love horror in general, movies or books, any kind of format, even video games, love it. And there are some tropes that we all love, some tropes that we all hate as well. And I was thinking, you know, New Year, it's always a time where people have new resolutions. We all think of new beginnings. New beginnings is something that it's always there when January comes around. And I was thinking of all of those tragic stories of families and people that are looking for a new beginning, a fresh start, and they move into a new place and it always ends bad. It always does. When you watch a horror movie, you see a family moving into a house, you're like, this is not gonna end up well. We all know this. Some shit might have been going down in this house. Something might have happened before. Something might be cursed. Some ghosts are gonna happen here. So I'm here to give you some recommendations based on haunted houses. Before we jump to our list and we check all of those poor souls that wanted a fresh start and it completely backfired, if you love horror, if you love books and you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. Let's start with a classic, The House Next Door by Anne Rivers, first published in 1978. We have here the story of a neighborhood where everybody seems to be nice and perfect. The men are handsome, the women are beautiful, it's peaceful, it's nice, until one day there is an empty lot and somebody decides to build a house there, and that is where trouble begins. There is something about this new house that was just built that doesn't feel right. People start to have certain feelings and it kind of changes them a little bit as well. So this new house that it's supposed to be a new beginning ends up, you know, not being good for everybody in the neighborhood. Next we have The House of Long Shadows by Ambrose Ibsen, and this was published in 2018, and it is about this guy that, you know, he kind of has these social media in which he posts renovations in houses. So he has this master plan to go to this house and renovate it in 30 days and kind of, you know, record the process for his social media. And while he's in the house, strange things start to happen. There are certain shadows that appears in the footage that he's recording and he doesn't know what's happening. So this is a great kind of modern take on the haunted house because we have kind of social media cameras added to the story. Next we have The Dead House by Billy O'Callaghan from 2017, and this is one of those books that it is a very slow, atmospheric ghost story that it focuses a little bit more on the descriptions, on the development in general, and it is not as action-packed as others, but it is still a beautifully written story. This is also kind of, apart from a ghost story, a great psychological thriller in which this woman is kind of recovering from her past life and she decides to move to Ireland to this beautiful cottage, and one night drinking they find this Ouija board and of course they have to play with it, and you know what happens when you play with Ouija boards? Nothing good comes out of it, nothing good. The next one is This House is Haunted by John Boy from 2013. I mean, the title is kind of telling you what's happening here, but we're in the 1800s and we follow this woman that is supposed to become the new governess of this house, and already on her way to the new job she has an accident that nearly ended up deadly for her, so she's already kind of shaken up. But when she gets to the place, she's supposed to take care of two children, and the two children are the ones that open the door for her when she knocks, and apparently there is no other adult or responsible person in this place, also not the person that kind of hired her to be the governess here. So she is wondering what the heck is happening, and of course more inexplicable and, you know, dangerous things start to happen. So if you love stories, you know, like your typical governess taking care of kids, haunted house, this is a very classic story. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I would recommend you to pick this one up. The next one is a book that you have heard me talking about all throughout 2020, but I would be doing a disservice if I would not mention this book here, and that is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, because we have here a really interesting different take on the haunted house story. We have a group of writers. They are all horror writers, but they have different kind of subgenres of horror that they specialize on. And they're all invited to be part of this interview, and the interview is gonna take place in a house that it is rumored to be haunted. And while they are in the house, we don't have the feeling that something is going on, but everybody that has been in that house is not gonna leave the house and move on to a normal life, because from the moment that they entered the house, little do they know their lives were going to change. I don't want to go into too much detail on what is happening with this house, because I think it's better if you just discover it yourself. But this is a book that I keep recommending to people that love horror as a genre in general, because I completely feel like this book was made for us horror freaks. Next we have historical horror. We have The Secret Companions by Laura Purcell, and this was published in 2017. We follow the story of Elise, and she married well into society, and she was expecting a life full of luxuries, but short after she marries, basically the husband perishes, and she's left with servants that despise her and the villagers that also seem to hate her, and she feels really alone in this house. And she finds a door that is locked, and it takes her to this kind of wooden statue that looks too similar to her. And that is all that I'm gonna tell you. But if you're looking for a nice historical horror story, I would definitely recommend you to pick this one up. Sorry about the situation here in this room, because it is raining outside and my birds are feeling really talkative right now, so I hope it's not bothering you guys too much. This is what happens when you love animals and you have too many animals and you end up having a zoo. Moving on to Remains by Andrew Cole from 2019, and this is especially for people that love stories that are heavy when it comes to grief and the mourning of a loved one. And this is all about a very special black house. So after the death of her son, Lucy was not able to really cope with it, and she ends up going to a psychological institution where she remains until something is whispering in her ear and something is taking her back to the house, to that black house where her son perished. And I really enjoyed this one. It's also a relatively new release, so if you guys have not had time to check it out and you love stories about loss and grief, and also about special houses, and also how far would you go to have even the possibility of getting your loved one returned to you, this is for you. The next book is not particularly about a haunted house, but more about a new beginning for our main character, and also a place full of interesting, weird characters, and that is Duma Ki by Stephen King from 2008. And it is a new beginning for our new character, because after a traumatic event that makes our main character lose his arm, he goes to therapy, he's trying to move on, to cope, and he ends up moving to Florida, to the coast, looking for a new fresh start. So apart from moving to Florida to look for a new beginning, his therapist, his psychologist, is telling him to look for something that used to make him happy, that he was good at, and pursue that. And he decides to start sketching, painting, and he realizes that there must be something kind of, you know, evil about the things that he's painting. Something doesn't seem to be kosher. Even though this is not the story about a haunted house per se, it is a story about the supernatural, and a book that I don't hear too many people talking about when they talk about Stephen King. So if you're interested about it, definitely check it out. Alright you guys, so these were 8 books that I would recommend you to pick up when it comes to new beginnings and haunted houses. So I hope that you enjoyed this list. Let me know down below what other books that have kind of this trope of new beginnings and haunted houses would you recommend me. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support. To follow me on other social media, the links as always are down below, and I hope to see you all guys in the next coffee time. Bye.